Welcome to Positive Vibes for the Valley. I'm your host, Ryan. I serve as community liaison and training coordinator for the Warren Coalition. This podcast focuses on SAMHSA's 8 dimensions of wellness. This week, we are focusing on spiritual wellness, and we have brought the expert, Miss Brenda Berry. She is a spiritual life and health counselor, but we brought her on to tell us a little more about that. So thanks again, Brenda, for being here with us a little bit. And please feel free to introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about what it is that you do, how long you've been doing it, and just some notable things for us to know.
Great. Ryan, thank you so very much for asking me to be on this. This is very exciting and I'm overjoyed. But I guess what I do is more of, I'm a certified holistic health practitioner specializing in energy and herbal medicines, all of which helps the body to, and the being, to be in a state of balance.
Excellent. Well, so Brenda, a couple things for you here. The one thing I really want to touch on quickly. So when you say holistic healing,
Mm-hmm.
what exactly does that mean? Can you tell us a little more about that?
I can, and I know it's become a buzzword, but the word holistic simply means the whole person. We're not just bones and tissue and muscles and blood. We are emotions. We are our thoughts and our beliefs. And all of this can become out of balance and can draw other aspects of our being out of balance. And so a holistic health practitioner looks at the whole person, looks at their diet, food that they eat, looks at their lifestyle, and perhaps, helps people to release old behaviors, belief systems, and patterns that just don't serve them very well, that they're not seeing for themselves. And it's very simple, but it's very complex at the same time, because taking a look at a whole person, heart, mind, body, soul, you need a map and you need a way in. And that's where I come in, because I can be objective, and I can take a look and I can put all of these pieces together and get a good picture of what needs to shift in order for that person to achieve their wholeness, their well-being. And that's really what it is. It's about being whole in heart, mind, body, and soul.
Well, and Brenda, I really like what you said there about being whole, because one of the concepts that we try to look at very broadly is, so with our 8 dimensions of wellness, how we get those to be harmonious with one another. And specifically getting into the dimension we're talking about, spiritual wellness, finding that balance, finding that harmony. And I'm going to give you the textbook definition here from SAMHSA on spiritual wellness. And then we'll delve a little more into Reiki, what that is, and how those two work together. So spiritual wellness, as defined, is a broad concept that represents one's personal beliefs and values. It involves having meaning, purpose, and a sense of balance and peace. So obviously, that is quite a lot to achieve and balance. So with that being said, and with that definition kind of fresh in our minds, can you tell us a little bit about Reiki? And for people who don't know, what exactly is it?
So Reiki is one form of energy healing. There are many forms of energy medicine. Most people are familiar with chiropractic or acupuncture, even massage. All of those are form of energy medicine. We are not, like I said, we're not just, our bones and our blood and our muscles. We are energy. Science has shown that we are energetic beings, and everything is energy. Emotions are energy. Thoughts are energy. And so when we are experiencing intense emotions, fear, anger, isolation, or sorrow and grief, we can become disconnected And for me, that word spiritual healing is about healing that disconnectedness. It's about moving out of that place of fear or isolation or anger or sorrow. Yes, happiness is an energetic, emotional energy as well. But the things that keep us disconnected and spiritual disharmony are those four that I mentioned, specifically anger, isolation, fear, and grief. And so when we are living in those, or wallowing, if you will, and we do as a species tend to wallow in past hurts and traumas and woundedness, we become disconnected from the source of that, be it a person, be it a place, be it an event, be it a tone, an energetic tone. And when we hear those things or re-experience that, it reignites that initial woundedness or trauma. And we withdraw, we pull back, and that disconnectedness is even more solidified. And so what happens when we become disconnected? We lose zest and love for life, for being engaged. Our inspiration and our creativity are diminished. But when those patterns are released, identified first, they have to be identified and worked and released, then something opens up that helps to reestablish that line of connection that, maybe I'm not seeing this clearly enough any longer, and perhaps I need to get a new perspective in order to shift out of that constant pattern of wallowing that we want to live inside of. Well, we don't really want to live inside of. We just don't always know how to break out of it. So energy healing, and we're talking about Reiki today. So I'm going to I do other things besides Reiki as well. But Reiki is a beautiful energy healing modality that is primarily for relaxation, relieving stress, and reducing pain. And all of those help the body heal itself. Now that sounds very simple. But Reiki does do more than that. So what is Reiki? Reiki, in a nutshell, is the vital life energy that animates all living things. Reiki is a Japanese word, and it's loosely translated in Western speak to mean spiritually guided life energy. So when you think of that, it is that animating energy, that vitality, that invigorating essence that lifts off the heaviness of anger, of fear, of isolation and sorrow. And it feels like a warm embrace. And I could talk all day about what Reiki feels like and what it looks like, but until someone actually has an experience of it, it's really kind of hard to grasp because the mind wants to try to make sense of everything. And this really isn't something that the mind can because it's not tangible. You can't touch it. Some people can see it in different ways. And it is indeed a life-enhancing modality that can bring a greater sense of connectedness to oneself, to one's vocation or purpose in the world, and to others, to life itself. And in that way, it restores that balance, that harmony within us, and helps us to align our hearts and our minds with what our bodies can and will be able to do. And that gives us a sense of accomplishment, of purpose. And that's what wholeness is really about. So I'll stop now.
No, and I think it's really interesting you put it that way, Brendan. I really like that line of thinking about, so some of the other dimensions of wellness are maybe a little, uh, quote unquote, easier to wrap your head around with regards
Mhm.
to physical wellness. Okay, maybe we can see that it's a little more tangible. Um, but spiritual wellness, I think, is often overlooked,
It is.
to be honest with you. And I think maybe it can have that feeling as to, how exactly do I get in touch with this dimension of wellness? And you're saying right now, obviously, you see the importance of it, right?
Mhm.
Being something that keeps all the other dimensions connected and being that kind of glue that holds things together. Um, and actually, I kind of want to ask about something you had said just now. So
Mhm.
thinking about Reiki and more thinking about energy healing in general, who can do that sort of thing? I mean, is that something, that you
You
have to
can do it,
be,
Ryan.
well, is it something, that is, you have to be in a certain position to do, young, old? Talk to me a little bit about it. Is it open to everyone?
Yes. Reiki, that's one of the beautiful things about Reiki. It is open to everyone. Yeah, everyone has a connection. We're all connected to one another. We're all connected to that great cosmic consciousness, if you will. I mean, where does wisdom come from? Someone asked you a question and you just seem to know the answer, though you may never have any formal training in it, right? So there's a connection that we all have. Reiki being the energy of universal love. That's what it is. And so, yes, it is available to everyone. Love belongs to everyone. So it is available to anyone who wants to learn it. Um, I do believe that there are some people who are naturally born and are already connected to the source of Reiki, which is the source of all encompassing universal love, whatever that your understanding of that is. And so Reiki being that and being available to everyone means that anyone can learn it. What does separate, what I guess, I don't want to say separate, what stands Reiki apart from other energy healing modalities is there is a process by which people are attuned to Reiki. So if you can think of the energy of Reiki as a radio frequency, um, and we know that there are a lot of different radio frequencies. We have 101.1 and 99.5 and so on and so forth. Well, Reiki is a specific radio frequency. And when someone takes a class, and I do teach this, I've been teaching for a long time, that connection to the source is made so that that frequency is now being broadcast through that person. And it is a different, everyone has their own connection. So it's not like me as a Reiki practitioner, I'm not working through another Reiki practitioner. That source is connected directly to me, and that energy comes through me, not from me. And so that's another difference about Reiki and other energy healing modalities is that energy it's not mine. It is coming through me. However, it is informed by my personality, my gifts, my willingness to be a clear and perfect channel as an instrument of healing. And that's really all that's required is a willingness to get your own attachment to outcomes. Do I want everyone that comes to me to be miraculously healed? I do. Is that what happens? No, it does not. I don't know what healing that person needs. I am a conduit, and I allow that healing to come through me. Um, that's the difficulty that I think most people would have is letting go of that outcome, that attachment to an outcome. But the question was, can anybody do this? Yes, anybody can. That has a willingness to do so.
Well, and that's perfect. I mean, that's fantastic. Obviously, trying to reach people where they are, and
Mhm.
and I kind of set you up a little bit there because doing some of my own research, that was one of the great things I had seen about Reiki is that just like you said, if you have the willingness to learn, um, then it's available for you. And kind of piggybacking on that, so speaking more to spiritual wellness kind of as a whole, and you've already mentioned this, but piggybacking from there to say spiritual wellness is overlooked. And personally, I can be guilty of not setting aside time to improve my own spiritual well-being, whether that's through meditation or whatever it is that I do to improve that. So, why do you say that regulating your spiritual wellness is important to your day-to-day life? If we're talking, with the stresses of work and family and everything else going on, why do you feel like it's so important to make sure you make that time to regulate your own spiritual wellness?
Well, our spiritual wellness directly impacts our physical wellness, our emotional wellness, and our mental wellness. If you can imagine for a moment the isolation of living completely, I mean, we've all experienced it the last year, right? But okay, so those listeners out there who have been completely alone this entire time and have not had a partner, a spouse, family, my heart goes out to them, and I can feel their unwellness. When we are not spiritually well, we are not creative. We are not inspired. And I have been there. We sit on the couch and watch TV wrapped up in a blanket, eating gobs and gobs of ice cream. And so what is that doing to us? That is seriously impacting our physical well-being. And so Reiki can help to relieve, let me kind of back up for a second. The heavinesses of life they are heavy. And how many times have you even woken up saying, but God, this just really feels heavy to me. Reiki can lift off that heaviness. And it's like taking off that heavy winter coat and putting on that spring, in my case, dress. It is freeing. It is allowing the light to come back in. And that's key. Sometimes we have to give ourselves permission, and then we have to allow it to happen. And usually what's in the way is that spiritual disconnection from our own self-worth, our gifts, our talents, and our own, that inspiration that does keep us going every day. Spiritual wellness definitely drives our ability to be a good friend, a good partner, a good parent, a good friend to ourselves. Because, there are times when we are our only friend. And if we can't be our only friend because we are spiritually unhealthy, we're really in trouble. Life requires spiritual health. It requires it to be happy and to be prosperous and to be worth living.
Absolutely. Well, and now, Brenda, I have to put you a little bit on the spot here because you are obviously, this conduit for others, and you've mentioned several times about teaching others how to achieve, their own regulation of spiritual wellness. But what I want to know from you personally, how do you manage to regulate your own spiritual wellness, especially, and I've used this example before, but when you're trying obviously to do these things for other people, you can be a little bit like a jar, right? And every person comes and they take a sip. So at the end of the day, how do you end up without an empty jar, so to speak?
Yeah. Well, I do spend a lot of time outside in nature. And another beautiful thing about Reiki is one can give it to oneself. So if it's, I can give Reiki to myself. I obviously know a lot of people who do this, so I reach out and I get energy work for myself. But, and that's great, but the thing is, one has to do their part. And so for me, I have to do my part in maintaining my own spiritual health. And that means engaging in the things that I know support that. Eating good food. The food that we put into our mouth impacts us on all levels. Our emotional health. If I eat too much sugar, I am an emotional wreck the next day. It's true. So when I'm thinking about eating that cookie, I'm like, how do I want to feel tomorrow? And it will stop me. Does that mean I don't have any cookies? No, it means that I might have 2 instead of 10. Okay, you see what I mean? But I do value my spiritual health, and it requires brutal honesty. And it's not always easy because I want things to be a certain way. And when they're not, I have to move into acceptance of that. And is this something that I can do anything about? Yes. Okay. What can I do? What can I do? And be realistic about that. The answer is no, I can't do anything about this, that I have got to let it go. Worry is one of the worst things that we can do. It is like paying interest on a loan before it's due. It's one of the most unhealthy things that we can engage in is worry. So if I feel that I'm worrying about something or someone, I will just stop myself the moment that I realize that I'm doing it, and say, you know what? I don't want to send that energy to you. So instead, I'm going to send you I'm going to send you support. I'm going to send something else other than worry. I go outside a lot. And I think I mentioned earlier that the only thing that I have left to do today is go outside and take a walk. And so should I stay home and clean my house? Well, should is a bad word. Should is a bad word. I took that word out of my vocabulary until now. I could stay home and clean house. I could do this. I could do that. Because, well, let's face it, we are all brought up that we do the things that we're supposed to do before we go and have fun. No, I'm an adult, and I'm giving myself permission to go and have fun first. Because you know what? The dust bunnies underneath that cabinet over there will still be there when I get back. But I don't want my bad mood to still be here when I get back. I don't want my sorrow, my anger, my fear, or isolation to still be here. So I do what I need to do to get rid of those things. And so doing my part is of utmost importance in maintaining my own spiritual health. I know what to do, so I do it.
Absolutely. And I think something you touched on right there that's really kind of a callback to even an earlier question, about, hey, why is spiritual health important? How are you regulating it? And a lot of it sounds like prioritizing, saying, hey, yes, I'm going to take today to go for that outdoor walk. I'm going to take this time, to learn more about Reiki. I'm going to take the time to invest a little more in my spiritual health, because it will pay dividends in the other dimensions as well. And you can see that. And with that being said, and again, thinking of myself personally, who I can struggle, to make time, to make that a priority. How do you recommend people get started? I mean, how do you recommend someone gets started on this? I know you're saying, hey, you can give the gift of energy healing, of Reiki to yourself. But where do you recommend someone like myself, for example, who may say, hey, I have no idea where to begin. This really seems overwhelming. What should I do?
You should go to my website and schedule a 30-minute free session or consultation, and we could talk about it. That's really what you should do. But honestly, the first thing that you should do, Ryan, really, truly, is make a commitment to yourself make a promise, and keep it. So if that promise is to, you know what, I'm going to sit down on my computer and I'm going to look up people who do this. And I'm going to pick somebody and I'm going to schedule an appointment to talk to them. You know, we human beings like information. We like our head candy, you know. And so that would be the first thing that I think most people want to do is they want to know that it's not going to hurt them, that it's not scary. Because what's our biggest fear? The unknown, right?
Right.
So shift the fear into excitement, number one. They really are a similar energy. And you know, if you are a research kind of a person, do that. Understanding though, with energy work, it's a little more difficult for the mind to get around it. So be brave. Get a Reiki session. Try it.
Well, and I really like, again, what you just said there about, you know, and something, again, you said earlier about being brutally honest and saying to yourself, okay, hey, I realize there's a deficiency in this realm of health. You know, I need to do something. I need to get involved. And I think that honesty paired with the bravery to take that first step. You know, obviously taking the first step of any journey can always be the hardest part.
Yes.
Being honest and being brave and saying, hey, I'm going to schedule this and make it happen and take those steps. So I think you're all over it, Brenda.
And that word brave is so important because, to be honest, Brian, it takes a great deal of courage to be willing to heal.
Yes, it does.
It really does, because it's not like going to the doctor and getting, you know, a Band-Aid put on a boo-boo. It's not that. You know, it's hard to take a look at your stuff sometimes. And owning our part in creating this. And you know, there's no shame. There's no shame. We all make mistakes. We've all done things that we regret. We've all hurt and been hurt. We've hurt others. We've been hurt by others. And so, you know, there's no judgment in this line of work. It is what it is. And so let's just look at it, accept it for what it is, and move it out of the, so it can become something else. That's what energy does. It's neither created nor destroyed. And this is Einstein, so you can look this up all day long. But you know, it can't be created. It can't be destroyed. It can only change forms or be absorbed. And so the energy of fear can be shifted into excitement. The energy of sorrow can be shifted into joy. And all it takes is willingness and courage to have it, to receive it. We have to be able to receive.
Brenda, thanks so much for coming on, telling us a little bit more about spiritual wellness, specifically how Reiki and energy healing play a role in that. You know, for myself personally, learning more about spiritual wellness, I think, is a big key in getting started. How do I know I'm deficient in something if I don't know much about it? So I think casting that illuminating light onto that help me personally a lot. And just keeping in mind how important in the grand scheme that spiritual wellness is. And like you've mentioned so many times, that word that I really like, harmony, getting it to be harmonious in your life and finding that balance within yourself. So I want to thank you again, Brenda, so much for all your information and for your time today.
It's a pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for asking me.
Well, the pleasure is all mine. I know next week, so we're going to be looking at the realm of intellectual wellness. We will have a former teacher, Brian Barber, on the show, telling us a little bit about intellectual wellness and teaching us how that can come into a harmonious lifestyle with our other 8 dimensions. One thing I do want to recommend to people is to check out the Warren Coalition's Facebook, Instagram, our YouTube channel. Also check out our website. Brenda, I know you mentioned earlier about the work that you do. So if you'd like to tell a little more about your website.
Yes, I would. My website is sacredscelebrations.net. And you can find me on Facebook as well, Sacred Celebrations LLC. I offer coaching, spiritual coaching, health coaching, specifically for women, the Must Love Self program. I'm still kind of developing that. And I'm happy to work with people in any way that they need. So spiritual wellness is really about meeting people where they are and helping them get to where they want to go. And so whatever that is for you, be it dietary, be it emotional, be it relationship, be it spiritual, I would love to chat with you. I offer free consultations, and I also offer free 30-minute sessions for people who would like to give it a try. And I'd like to extend that to you, Ryan. If you'd like to give it a shot, be happy to share that with you.
Well, I got to say, I did visit the website, and it's really great. I learned a lot. You have a fantastic section on frequently asked questions, and I went straight there. I was like, hey, and it just was really informative and shed a lot more light. I felt like we only scratched the surface here today. There's so much more, of course, to learn. But again, Brenda, I want to thank you so much for coming on to the show. I want to thank all of our listeners for tuning in, and hopefully you'll come back next week and we'll dive more into the dimensions of wellness.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thanks, Brenda.